Alrighty, welcome back everyone. We just talked about a little bit of a transfer portal update, gave you guys an idea of where everything's sit. Commitments have started to roll in, so definitely a lot going on. We'll definitely keep you updated there, but let's continue talking about the transfer portal, but not the ones that are going on right now. We'll talk about some of the success stories we have seen in the portal. I feel like a lot of the discussion around the portal right now has been very negative, and I have taken part in that quite a bit. There is definitely some parts of the portal that I am not a huge fan of, but definitely there are some parts that make it super important to this game, and definitely something that is vital to the future of this game. And I think the best way to kind of contextualize that is break down the quarterback position, because that's the one that, we're all putting a lot of energy into. That's the one you're watching, and there's been a ton of really, really good transfer quarterbacks that, for different reasons, have found their way to a new program and have become college football legends very, very quickly. But let's start with who personally, in my opinion, is the best quarterback I've ever seen play in college football, Cam Newton. He was someone that started his career at Florida before finding his way to Auburn. And his decision obviously was not totally his to leave Florida. Definitely made some mistakes over there in Gainesville. But he went on to have a fantastic career at Auburn and did remarkable things, had one of the best individual seasons that anyone has ever seen. Went on to win the Heisman, won a national championship, went on to have the remarkable career he did in the NFL. So I think, obviously, definitely not the circumstances you want him transferring under, but he was able to make the most of his second chance. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about the transfer portal is you give these kids who maybe made some decisions they wish they could take back, the ability to, you know, get that second chance and find a new place to play and hopefully thrive. And Cam Newton did that to an absolute T. And the other guy that did that maybe even better than Cam Newton did was Joe Burrow. He spent the vast majority of his career in the Scarlet and Gray up at Ohio State, actually graduated from there, was in the middle of a very heated battle with Dwayne Haskins, someone that was just remarkable for Ohio State, has unfortunately passed on now, but they were battling for that starting job, and it was very, very close before he broke his foot. So Joe Burrow was in a position where there wasn't a lot of options, right? He probably was not going to be the starter at Ohio State anymore. He was probably rarely going to get that shot just because of the remarkable players that were rolling in and out of that program during that time. So he found his way to LSU. Ed Orgeron took a chance on him, and his life changed forever. He led probably the best offense that we have ever seen in college football in 2019 LSU. He did just remarkable things, and now is in the NFL, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So just a remarkable story, another example of, whether it's you made a poor decision and you had to leave the school that you were at, but you were able to land on your feet like Cam Newton, or you had some injuries that got in your way and you had to find a new place to play like Joe Burrow. Both those things are great ways to utilize the portal. Hopefully, the kids that do it that way can find a good place to play and land on their feet. So both really great examples, but it doesn't stop there by any means. You have Baker Mayfield, one of the best stories in college football history, in my opinion. Started at Texas Tech before transferring and walking on to the Sooners. Definitely something that is a daunting feat for sure. You're going in conference, but having to walk on, having to just lay it out on the table and do the work that's necessary to become the quarterback that he was capable of being. And he went on to become one of the most accomplished quarterbacks in college football history. Recorded over 1,200 passing yards, almost 900 rushing yards, 137 touchdowns in 3 seasons. So went absolutely insane. Won the 2017 Heisman Trophy. Obviously, he never got the ultimate goal of a national championship, which is obviously really tough. But if you look back at those games, I think you'll find it wasn't quite Baker Mayfield's fault in the majority of those games. So definitely one of the most, at least statistically, one of the most accomplished players in college football history. One of the most impressive stories in the sport, and definitely a guy that utilized the portal in the perfect way and found his way to Lincoln Riley, which we'll actually get into here in a second. But the only story that actually I think trumps Baker Mayfield is Stetson Bennett. He is the guy that started his career at UGA as a preferred walk-on before making his way to Jones Community College for a couple of years, played some really, really good football there, then made his way back to Athens as a preferred walk-on. So this is he definitely wanted to be a Bulldog, definitely wanted to lead this team, and he went on to do that. He lived out his childhood dream, led his childhood team to back-to-back titles, became a Heisman finalist, and one of the most accomplished players in college football history. So just a remarkable story, definitely one that I think a lot of people identified with and a lot of people loved, because it was just wild to watch a kid that looked undersized, looked like he didn't have the physical tools, looked like he wasn't a starting quarterback for the University of Georgia, become one of the best players, if not the best player in Georgia history. So it's just remarkable to see that type of thing happen. Obviously, you have guys like Herschel Walker that were better football players, but in terms of accomplishments, I mean, no one really touches Stetson Bennett in the UGA history. And then you got guys like Kyler Murray. You have guys like Jalen Hurts, Caleb Williams, all using it in different ways, but finding the same guy in Lincoln Riley. So maybe that's the secret sauce that everyone needs to find, especially if you're a quarterback. Just find Lincoln Riley in the portal. You might win a Heisman. You'll do right by yourself. But at the end of the day, I think all of these guys, while, Caleb Williams was particularly the one that people were very upset about, I think a lot of players commit to coaches. A lot of players commit to offenses, and that's something that Caleb Williams definitely did. He wanted to follow Lincoln Riley over to USC, and he did that. Jalen Hurts had a very interesting time at Alabama, was one of the most admired, really, college football players I've seen in quite some time, just because of the way that he handled that last season at Alabama. Found his way to Norman and became a Heisman finalist, did some remarkable things. And then Kyler Murray, obviously, finding his way from Texas A&M, didn't necessarily work out there the way that he had hoped, but did incredible things at Oklahoma. So it gives you an idea just how it's kind of impacted our college football world, and how, some of these stories, you might not love the transfer of Caleb Williams. You might not love some of these guys' decisions that they made, but it was the best decision for them, which is ultimately the goal in all of this, is to make sure that these kids are set up the best way that they can be, and playing the game they love in a way that they love it, in a place that they love to be at. So definitely really important stuff there. But if you want to go even more recently, we have Quinn Ewers, Shadur Sanders, and Travis Hunter, all guys that utilize the portal and will be top players in next year's draft. And then in this year's draft, you have Jared Verse, Jaden Daniels, Liati Latu, all guys that use the portal for different reasons, and all benefited greatly and will be first-round picks in this upcoming draft. So the portal has been a very, very interesting entity. If you want to go a little bit further back, you got guys like Randy Moss, Roger Staubach, Troy Aikman, Russell Wilson. So tons of guys that have benefited greatly from using the portal and it being a thing in general. So while I totally understand there's been a ton of stuff happening around college football, and its impact on college football has been negative in a ton of different respects, and I'm not necessarily arguing that it hasn't, but it's given these guys a second chance. And I think that's something that is super necessary for college football. It's super necessary for kids in general, right? I've been in their shoes, been a young kid at 18 years old, and you don't make the best decisions at times. And I think giving these kids the chance to learn from stuff and maybe find a new place to play, maybe things just didn't work out at the first place, maybe injuries were a part of it, whatever it is, just having the ability to get back into football, get back into a new rhythm and a new place, and reach your highest potential is always what we should want for these college kids. So while there's definitely some decisions that you don't necessarily love during this time, it's a super important part of the sport, and something that if we did away with, I think you'd be doing a huge disservice to the kids that are currently in college and kind of making their way into college football. But as we get into this portal, I think that's something we should all be looking for. The stories that are the good stories, not necessarily highlighting the guys that might have left for the NIL deal or might have left for the wrong reasons. We start highlighting the guys that are leaving for the right reasons, whatever those are. I highlighted Darian Brown the last time we talked, someone that has gone through a slew of medical troubles throughout his time at Texas, finally got back to a healthy place and can play football again, is in the transfer portal. Cannot wait to see where he ends up. Hopefully he succeeds immensely in his future. You have guys like Cam Ward and Damian Martinez who, while you would have loved for them to stay up at Washington State and Oregon State, you got to play on a bigger stage, especially if you're that talented, especially if you're those kids in particular. So don't necessarily blame them for that. I think there's certain kids within this slew of kids that you might not fully agree with, and within this system that is mostly flawed, there are definitely some stories and some beautiful things within it. So I think this is a time of year where a lot of people talk really negative, talk down on the portal, and while I fully understand that, and I've participated from time to time, I think it's always important to kind of look at the pros that we're getting from it and the ability for these kids to learn from mistakes, to bounce back from injuries, to do the things that they should deserve to do, right? So there's tons of stuff going on with the portal. There's going to be tons going on for the next week that I'll be talking about. I'm sure I will not be too nice about the portal in future shows, but for the time being, I just wanted to highlight some of the guys that have really benefited from it and why I think it is a super important part to college football going forward and college sports going forward in general. So that'll be really interesting to watch, but that will do it for this edition of the GSMC College Football Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. It does make a huge difference. Also, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram for all of the content and updates. We have so many great people doing incredible work across pretty much every sport you could possibly think of. So definitely tune in to all of those shows to see what happens there. But thank you once again for listening, and I will see you guys tomorrow.